It was asked to be formed and organized by the neighborhood group and supported by elected official and the city services. The purpose is to listen, to update and to improve collaboration during the COVID-19 and to gain more support for the neighborhood group. Because people ask me and say, Darren, is code enforcement it's still working? Is the CLO still working? And city services still working? I said, they all are working. But the services, they said they have not seen something new. So I want to host this. And again, this is not about pointing who's right, who's wrong. It's just about improving, getting more support, fill out the gap, and release all the stress and bring back all the circle of collaboration and motivation and inspiring one another to carry the job of the what we do. Before we move on, I want we have 3 people. Eric, raise your hand. He's the one that record will go, and Julie. And so I want to go to Eric. So say something with Inside House about the progress of recording.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm one of Darren's colleagues. I'm Eric Hasted. I also work in the city of Tacoma. And so for everyone joining us, we are going to be recording this meeting in case you know of anyone that's not able to attend, or if you just want to go back and listen because it's just so engaging. And so for anyone that would not like to be recorded, if you turn off your video, you won't appear in the recording itself. Otherwise, we'll be sure to email out the link for the recording after this meeting, most likely beginning next week or so.
Thank you. And Julia?
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. My name is Julia Mulligan-Neal, and I work at Safe Streets as well in marketing and fundraising. And I will be your handy chat monitor. So when you have questions for any of the speakers, please send them in the chat, and I will be relaying them to the speakers.
And the time?
And the time, yes. And I'll be keeping time for the speakers as well.
And also we have another City of Tacoma mobilizer, Alberto.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alberto Rodriguez. Like Darren said, I am a mobilizer in the city of Tacoma, and I will be here to assist if anything goes wrong. Feel free to just send me a message anytime.
Thank you. And before the program start, so recording, if you don't want, you don't want to record it, right, Eric? You can mute the video and the photo. So, and during the speaker to do a presentation, please, if you have a question, put in the chat box, and Julia gonna type it, gonna read it to the presenter, and each one of a presenter have a time. So then after the speaker is done, so at least Julia will read it to the question and answer. And before we move on, I just want to thank you for Alex. Alex is already there coming. She's a representative for assistant to Representative Mylon Tai. Thank you, Alex, for coming. I think you are already logged in. And also, we also have Representative Johnson come and joining us tonight too. And to start, so I would like to invite, please welcome our Speaker of the House, Roy Jenkins, please.
Thanks, Darren, and it's great to see the great turnout tonight here. I know if we were not in a pandemic and live and in person, I guess we're all live, but if we were in person, there'd even be more of us at this event. So it's been great over the years, even before I was elected, to work with Safe Streets and all of the community members who connect with Safe Streets. So I just wanted to stop in. Unfortunately, I have I still have a bunch more meetings tonight via Zoom, but it's this kind of work that Safe Streets does, mobilizing to bring community together and bring community and the city and our law enforcement community and the diversity of our different neighborhoods. That's really one of the strengths, I think, of Safe Streets, is to bring everybody together in events like this, in town hall, and hopefully next year we'll be able to do National Night Out really again, and our neighborhood appreciation potluck and our March Against Crime and the community conference that you all had last month. My guess is a bunch of you went to that too. So this kind of work is really important for our community, and I see that there's a number of council members on the call, as well as I see Senator Conway there too. But I expect that it's likely that your council members are going to really be engaged in issues around police accountability and improving our law enforcement structure here in Tacoma, especially. And I know some of you live outside of Tacoma, but that work is going to be so important that you be engaged in that too, and be bringing your perspectives to that to help shape policy. And it's important for Senator Conway and I also to be hearing you in Olympia. We're going to be doing that kind of work. We're going to hold our session in Olympia very much like you're holding your meeting tonight. It'll be remote. But the good thing about it is you'll still be able to email us. We'll be able to meet with you remotely via Zoom and via phone. And for the first time ever, if you want to testify on a bill, you're not going to have to come to Olympia to do it. You're going to be able to sit in your house and do it. So it's going to actually create more access, I think, for people than maybe we've had before. So anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to say thank you all for your engagement with your community, for your engagement with Safe Streets, for your engagement with the government sector, because you're making our community better by doing it. And I just really appreciate all that you do.
And thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And I think, Julie, any question for her?
Nope, nothing's come through yet.
And I know she have many other
Sign off
meetings.
right now. I should sign off right now before you do, but I'm going to stay on till 6:30 and listen to other people. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And before we move on to the next speaker, I would like to let you know that COVID-19 cannot stop a citizen organizing at all. Like this month alone, we have 2 neighborhood groups have been organized. One from Eric area, one is from my area, from East 40th and B. So I would like to invite, hey, Kelly is still there, Brenna, Christina, and Morgan. Would you please raise your hand? Let people know they are the new people in the neighborhood. So welcome to the neighborhood group. Welcome, you guys. They have been working for so hard and recruiting more people. So we have core 4 people from that group. So the four core people gonna go out there, gonna recruit more people. And like one of the guys said, Steve said, Darren, do you have any flyer that I can hand out? I say, wow, I'm a good flyer printer, so don't worry. You're like, but at this time, just only send a core representative to come over here. Thank you so much for you guys. Okay, the next person I would like to invite City Council District 4, Uska.
Thank you, Darren. And again, thanks to you and Safe Streets for organizing this. It is so good to see all of your faces. I would be remiss if I didn't real quick offer congrats on elections to Lori and Steve, I think you ran too, but I actually don't vote in your district, so I'm not sure. Senator Conway, I'm sorry, but I know that Lori did. And so I'm happy that that all worked out. I would rather listen to questions and respond from there, but I want to give a couple updates real quick. There's been a lot going on in the city of Tacoma. I want to acknowledge that I see Neighborhood and Community Services Director Linda Stewart on here. I see Latoya, who manages 311 on here. And I know that I saw Lieutenant Scripps on here. There might be other city staff that I'm not seeing flipping through. So please jump out if you are here and I'm missing you. city has really had to turn on a dime to move everything virtually. And I know that for a lot of people, responses have seemed slow, and it's just because there's been a lot more to respond to. As COVID continues, it's not just people getting sick, it's people experiencing economic crisis, and we're definitely seeing those impacts in our neighborhoods. I think most of you probably know that since the pandemic started, we've now set up one, and now we're setting up a second. Well, we moved one temporary emergency shelter. One's at 60th and McKinley, and there's a second one going on at 6th and, I want to say it's 6th and Orchard, but it might be 8th and Orchard. I see heads nodding. I think the landlady just told me 6th. And hopefully you received information on that. I definitely got a lot of background information on that sort of information. And while I don't want to take all the talking points from my colleagues, I'm going to steal a few real quick, because the other two big things that have happened are our work on anti-racism and our Transform Tacoma website. I'll put that in the chat in just a minute. It kind of goes over all the work, including the work that we're doing with law enforcement and the city manager's weekly updates. In the midst of that, there's a community-led aspect of it that's called Heal the Heart of Tacoma, that was spearheaded by Mayor Woodards and actually voted on unanimously by council. And the applications are still being received for that, for people who want to be part of that citizen-led group, to make sure that as we go through this work, we're not doing it in an isolation chamber, but we're truly doing it together as a community. And I'll put a link to that page in the chat here in just a minute too. But with those comments and my gratitude at seeing all of your faces, I would rather answer questions than keep talking to you, or keep talking at you, if that makes sense.
And again, this is you guys, you're here to listen from your elected official, your local elected official, who are out there day and night, weekend and weekday, bicycling, patrolling the neighborhood to take. And please, question and answer, please come up. Julie, any question?
Nope, I haven't seen any questions come through yet.
So
don't be shy, send them in.
Yes, thank you. And are you gonna be here for a while too, Councilor Uska?
Yeah, actually, I intend to see this through. I'm looking forward to everything I can hear from everybody.
Okay, thank you. And the next person on the list, we have the director, Linda Stewart, and from Neighborhood and Community Services. And also we have Keith William, the City of Tacoma Code Enforcement Compliance Supervisor. So is Linda here?
Hi, Darren, I'm here.
Oh, hi, you're hiding.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. So I wonder, Darren, if it's okay if we let Keith go first.
Yes.
Because I know he's on he's got some time constraints tonight. So
yes.
Are you all right with that? Okay. So Keith, yes. You want to go ahead and talk about all of the things going on in code compliance world. And I also want to note that we've got Christina Tate here. She leads our customer support in terms of there's code compliance officers, and then there's also support to our community and processing the thousands of inquiries that we receive every year around code compliance, and Christina manages all of that. So thank you to Christina and Keith for being here, and I'll turn it over to Keith now.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Darren, for having us. You know, the great thing about having this meeting this way is we don't have to wear a mask. So I've been having some volume issues with my computer. So if you can't hear me, just give me the thumbs up and I'll talk a little bit louder. Okay. So Darren asked me if I would come and talk about code compliance and how the pandemic has affected us in code compliance. So again, we're part of Neighborhood and Community Services, and we've got, I think, 10 staff. We've got 6 inspectors, 3 admin who support the inspectors, and then myself. And so some things have changed. And as you know, the pandemic has created a financial crisis for the city and for you, its residents. We've had to alter the way that we do business in response to the pandemic and to the financial crisis, while still addressing our priorities: the pandemic response, essential services, and Transform Tacoma that Council Member Ushka just mentioned a few minutes ago. So our job in code compliance is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public by ensuring that property owners maintain compliance with the Tacoma Municipal Code. We also implement proactive and equitable strategies that recognize and address the diversity of need in our community. So some of the changes that we've had to make and adapt to start with, you may be aware, you may not know, that our department staff experienced a 5-week rolling temporary standby layoff from May to June. This was to try and adjust for the negative impacts of the financial crisis. The way we did this, we have almost 30 people in our department. Half the people went on the layoff first for 5 weeks. They came back. We had about a 1-week overlap, and then the other half of the department went on the layoff. And so when we came back, we were pretty far behind in some areas, but we're getting caught up again. I see some people leaning forward, so I'll talk a little bit louder. For instance, when I came back, I was in the second group that left and came back. Our 311 complaints had gotten up to about 845. We've worked at that pretty hard. We've got them down to under 150. We've got 3 people in the office who are working on those every day. We've got somebody working on the new ones, and we've got somebody working on the old ones. So we are getting there. We're almost there now. The entire NCS department has been teleworking since March the 16th. So that's new. And many of you are doing the same thing. So you may be asking, well, how do inspectors do that working from home? Well, they come into town, they get in their work vehicle, and they go do their inspections. When they're done, they go back home, and then they do their office work from home, return their phone calls, their emails, input any information they have to manage their files. And so again, a lot different than what we're used to. So some of you may be wondering how they handle the safe distancing. Inspectors, they will stay in their trucks to do inspections. They avoid people contact as much as possible, and they wear masks whenever it's required. As far as our yard program, the yard assistance for low income and elderly, it's been postponed until 2021 because our contractor is not able to operate until phase 3. In our proposed 21-22 budget, our service levels will get back to normal. Another thing that's a little bit different is our nuisance penalties and collections are on hold because the pandemic has created a hardship on folks who've lost their jobs or suffered some kind of financial impact from the pandemic. Private property cleanups that are conducted by the city were also postponed for a couple of reasons. One, the company that serves the warrants were not working. Another big reason is because the city transfer station, as you know, was closed down for a while, so no one could get rid of debris. The city transfer station is open again, and we are addressing private property cleanups in worst case scenarios. We've also extended re-inspections until after the transfer station was reopened. And because again, it's operating again, and so residents do have a way to get rid of their debris. Inspectors are spending more time on the phone now, trying to assist residents by offering more code education, resource information, extensions on re-inspections that I mentioned, temporarily postponing enforcement in some cases, and offering alternative solutions where reasonable. This approach supports the city's commitment to individualized service as part of the system's transformational process. And you may be wondering exactly what does that mean? Well, sometimes when someone calls up and says, hey, I've got COVID, they need an extension on when we come back and do their re-inspection. Or if they say, I just lost my job, I need a little more time, so we're going to offer them an extension. In temporarily postponing enforcement, it would be in a case where maybe someone says, hey, I'm not getting paid until the first of the month. I need a little more time to get what I need for that car so it's operational again. And so we try to be reasonable and again, offer extensions where we can and work with people to help them get to compliance. We've also made some automation process improvements in the office to how complaints and notice of violation letters are processed. It's helped us to notify residents more quickly about new violations. So those are the some of the major changes that we made in the office because of the pandemic. I wanted to be able to report some of the code stats for 4 and 5. Unfortunately, our system was not cooperating. I was able to pull some numbers for the entire city of Tacoma. I like to do that because there's always people who want to know what the numbers are. And so this is just a quick overview. So code compliance has inspected almost 2,300 new concerns through the 3-1 system since January through the end of the third quarter of September. And that's for the entire city. During the same time frame, we closed almost 2,400 concerns. And this includes cases that are older than just 2020. We are currently working on about 1,300 open complaints that we're working with homeowners on to get compliance. One thing that I really want to stress is that more than 70% of all of our code cases are closed within 3 months, and the average is just under 4 months for most of them. So Darren, that pretty much wraps up, I believe, what I wanted to cover tonight. Did you want me to take a question or two?
Julia?
Yeah, we did have some questions come in. Keith, I'm not sure if they're all in your wheelhouse, but I can just read them off and maybe other folks who maybe have more insight can answer, if that sounds good. One is, this year the city did a good proactive strategy. Instead of bringing unwanted home items to a drop-off point, the city did curbside pickup. How can this practice be continued into the future? It worked.
That sounds like something that the solid waste department did. Linda, would you like to weigh in on that?
I sure can. So we shifted this year because the community cleanup involves, hundreds of volunteers getting together, people in line and receiving items from homes and yards and garages and loading things into large containers and a lot of personal interaction. And so we did shift. And so I think we can find a way to continue that practice next year.
Great, thank you, Linda. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
Okay.
So one is about concerns in the Fern Hill area, especially traffic issues. There was a double fatality at the 88th and Park at 88th and Park Avenue last week, and there was a car accident in the same roundabout. And there's also been drag racers in the neighborhood. I guess, does anyone want to comment about those issues in the Fern Hill area?
Do we want to hold that one until the CLOs are talking, since that's a police issue?
Sure, that sounds great to me.
Okay.
Let me see. I think the other two, I think, are also more police related, but maybe help me out if there's one that I understand the tiny homes are going up at Orchard and 6th Ave. How can homeless people on the south end be served? Or are they moving to the tiny homes on 6th Ave?
So Julia, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and address the micro shelter sites when I take over from Keith.
Okay, great. All right, I think that's all then for now.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. Can I jump in a little bit about the curbside? Lenore, can you share your successful story a little bit? This is a good that the elected official and Linda need to know. Lenore, go ahead. With the curbside cleanup, how you bring more people, never go to the cleanup side, why, and what did he say about it? You have to unmute yourself, Lenore. Where is her name? I'm sorry.
You should see a little microphone icon that you can click that would unmute you.
Yeah. I tried to look at the name. Oh, file right here. Sorry.
Unmute. There I
Okay,
am.
yes.
Okay. Well, a lot of the people in our neighborhood are older, and they don't have the ability to transfer their items to a dump site. And then a lot of us were working at the dump site, and a lot of us were running around haphazardly up and down alleys trying to find things that people put out. So I don't know what the numbers were as far as what they picked up compared to what they may have picked up at Man School yet last year. However, this year, I know for us, we had tons of stuff, and we were one of the first ones that they picked up, and we were at 8 o'clock in the morning sharp. And we set stuff out the night before. Couple things were missing in the morning, which we didn't care, but it helped somebody else. But the older people in our neighborhood were so excited about it because we were able to go over to their homes and just pull it out and put it on the curbside. And they were so grateful for that. And that was easier for everybody rather than putting it in a truck and carrying it and then taking it somewhere else. So in our neighborhood, I believe it was very effective. Much more so than when we were taking it to the dump site.
Thank you, Lenore. And I heard from many others, that's why I want to share. This is a really good, successful story during city services to the citizen during the COVID-19. Just want to let you guys know. Okay. Any other question, Julia, from for the neighborhood community services?
Yeah, I think 2 more here. We've had a number of homes boarded up by the city that have remained vacant for several years. While they're boarded up, squatters have moved in, drug traffic has been a challenge. What's the fate of these homes? They are on the 88th Street block on Park Avenue.
So I'll go ahead and jump into that. So if you have a specific question about a property, Keith, would you make sure that you provide your telephone contact information to the group here, and maybe Julia, you can post it on the chat. Keith, would you provide your telephone number, please?
I will. 253-573-2492. And also another change we made was we put my name and phone number on our code compliance website so that I'm easy to find.
Thank you, Linda.
Go ahead, Linda.
In terms of any potential illegal activity, I know Lieutenant Scripps, I saw him here,
Yes.
and he can advise about how to talk with the police department about addressing any potential unlawful activity that you're seeing there. In terms of I see the word squatters being used. If there are folks there, I want to make sure that we're encouraging everyone to report into 311, Tacoma First 311, and our friend Latoya Mason here is, she manages all of the calls. We're always telling people report into 311. So Latoya and her team manage all of those calls that go into 311, and they triage them out to the departments for us to handle them. So Councilmember Ushka, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I actually wanted to tout some more of your org's good work. I know that derelict houses are something that Councilmember Hunter and Councilmember Beal and myself have focused on and talked with NCS about for a while now. And in terms of, I mean, chances are if you give them an address, they'll know the address and they have a plan. We've really been looking as a city at different ways to address those houses, both legally and more swiftly than they sometimes have been in the past. A longtime East Side residents, I think that, you know, most of us have probably been near a house that we see sometimes takes a multitude of years to become a good space. I don't know how to put that any more succinctly. So I appreciate the city's hard work on that, but hopefully my experience over the last last couple of years after NCS has really changed this process, and Keith's good work too, is that there's an address and they already know about it and they can tell me an answer on what the long-term story is and where they're trying to go. So I just wanted to share that information. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Ushka. And we are also looking at how we could potentially acquire properties and rehabilitate them and put them into use as homes for first-time home buyers or for affordable housing. Unfortunately, as we all know, the housing market in Tacoma is extremely hot. So regardless of what type of property goes on the market, folks are very likely to pay a lot more money than the city can pay for the properties. But we are monitoring these properties, and like the council member said, our code inspectors know them. But if you see illegal activity, you are encouraged to contact the police department, and Lieutenant Scripps can talk with you more about how those concerns are processed.
Thank you so much. We've got one more code question. Does the city address commercial code enforcement differently than residential?
Well, the codes are different in some situations. So there's residential codes that are a little bit different than some of the other codes. So we do address all properties in Tacoma, but it may be that the codes are different. So they will be addressed if you get it turned in. And let me mention one more thing on the derelict buildings. 2 years ago, our derelict building count was right at about 350, and it is down to 140 today. So quite a difference.
And also, I want to mention that as part of the transformational process, we are reviewing our nuisance code and our building and structures code that we administer in the Neighborhood and Community Services Department to identify how we can be more equitable in the application of both the nuisance code and the building and structures code. And so we anticipate making some administrative changes to how the inspectors, for example, approach making discretionary decisions around application of the code. And then we very likely will be bringing some actions, some legislative actions to council at the end of 2021 to ensure that words like equity are embedded into the code so that we can make sure that everybody knows that equity and equity is at the basis of every decision we make. And I just have to say, Kristen Pierce, if you're walking a dog or a couple dogs, I'm loving this aspect of meetings because I get to actually participate in a dog walking experience while I'm in a meeting. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I've been on Zoom meetings all day, so this was their chance to get out.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Linda. Any other question for Neighborhood and Community Services? Linda, we have at least like 20% of the people participating tonight. They are new to Tacoma, so they don't know a lot about the Neighborhood and Community Services. Do you mind to share with them a little bit? What does it mean to them?
Sure. Before we start, though, I just want to thank our staff for being here. Keith and Christina, thank you so much. We're working really long hours to meet the needs of our Tacoma community, and these two folks here are the backbone of our code compliance work unit. So thank you to you both. So Neighborhood and Community Services, we do a lot of things. We put money out into the community to fund services for a variety of endeavors to meet the needs of vulnerable people. So we run all of the homelessness programs, domestic violence programs, senior wellness, youth violence and youth reduction. We do things like fund the mental health, therapeutic mental health court, a variety of human services, everything in terms of human services, also code compliance. And then we regulate and monitor. Okay, so the noise code, the rental housing code, we actually created and now administer the COVID response rental assistance program. We've put about $500,000 out into the community in rental assistance and direct support of the COVID pandemic. We put about $1 million, almost $1 million out using COVID dollars to support food banks and food kitchens as a response to the COVID pandemic. I'm super tired, I'm sorry. So if I'm stumbling, please excuse my stumble. So we do it all in terms of human services. We collaborate with our human services partners over in Pierce County to make sure that we're creating a service system to respond to the needs of the community. I forgot to mention domestic violence. We also fund domestic violence services, but I want to focus on homelessness for a moment because we are in a state of emergency around homelessness. It was declared in May of 2017. And our homeless strategy revolves around a couple things. Primarily making homelessness a rare, brief, and one-time event. So what we want to do is we want to attack the homelessness issue by addressing racial disparities and other root causes of homelessness. We want to strengthen our outreach and engagement to identify and engage people living in places not meant for habitation and those fleeing from violence. Support tailored interventions for subpopulations in the homelessness system. We want to strengthen access and availability of shelter. We want to work with our partners in the city and at the state to identify and support permanent supportive housing programs and strengthen eviction prevention strategies. And then also we want to diversify the portfolio of supportive services. Those are services that we can put into place to ensure that folks get back into housing, that they stay housed, and that once they're housed, they have the supports they need to remain housed. So for example, if someone is experiencing homelessness, they go into one of our transition sites. So the stability site down on Portland Avenue, or the emergency micro shelter site that is now over at East McKinley, East 60th and McKinley, or the new one that is going up at 6th and Orchard. Stabilize individuals and then find them an appropriate site for housing, and then stay with them, support them as they go into housing so that they don't fall back into homelessness. So someone asked about the availability, I'm finding my information here. Someone asked about the availability of micro shelter sites at the 6th and Orchard that are being constructed right now. And those will become available most likely in mid-December. But in this district, particularly kind of on the boundary between District 4 and 5, we have at East 60th and McKinley, folks living in a micro shelter site that went up there a couple months ago. There are 53 individuals being sheltered at this particular site. The total number of clients served at the site since it went into operation a couple months ago is 77. And since it went into operation, we've had 11 of those individuals exit to housing. So that means that folks went from being homeless to the emergency micro shelter site at East 60th and McKinley. And now they're becoming stable enough to have been placed, well, not placed, but transitioned into some sort of housing that meets their needs. That could be anything like returning home to family. It could be going into an apartment. It could be going somewhere out of state. But again, housed to exits to housing is 11, and that's about 46% placement rate at this point in time, which is really a good, it's higher than the national average of placements to housing. So I just wanted to touch on that question about access. We do have the temporary emergency micro shelter site on East 60th and McKinley. And then in December, we'll have access for about 55 people to receive services and shelter at 6th and Orchard. And 6th and Orchard will provide shelter specifically for folks who are, there'll be families with children, there'll be couples, and there'll be single women served there. Let's see, I'm gonna go back into the chat and see what kind of questions there are. And again, I just wanted to give an overview about what we do in the department in addition to code compliance. So Keith talked to you about code compliance. How are we ensuring a safe and healthy community through enforcement of the nuisance code and the building and structures code? But there's another whole side of our department related to human services. And then in the middle is how we administer the services that we provide. So we're not direct service providers. We fund service providers to deliver the services. We are a very lean organization. Of our total budget, about 68% of our dollars of every biennium go out into the community. We operate on about a 23% allocation to personnel and administrative costs. So questions?
We've got one question about tiny homes. How long do people get to stay in the tiny homes?
So we like to think about 90 days, and that is what we go in with. So we like to think that folks will be able to stabilize in about 90 days. However, if they're not able to for some reason, we're not going to kick them back out onto the street. But we have such a good a good result with the 24/7. So this is a secure, safe area. It's managed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's got case managers who go in there. There's a behavior contract that folks have to signed in order to participate. They have to participate in what's called a housing plan. So when you're putting all of these supports around individuals and you're letting them know that they can be in a place and they can stabilize and they can have access to how do I get my driver's license? How do I get my social security benefits? How do I, maybe I need job training. How do I get involved, enrolled in job training? When you put all of these services around individuals and you offer it for, a safe place for them to be 24/7, the access to to housing really go up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's really helpful information as always. Educate, motivate, and inspire. Common. Thank you so much, Linda. So the next person is the District 5 City Council, Chris Bill. I would like to, because many people ask, what's going on in the District 5? So would you please, Council Member Bill, update and report a little bit so we all know. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Darren, and thanks everybody for being here. I just want to say, man, it's nice to see everybody here on this. I'm not going to say Brady Bunch. I feel like Brady Bunch is overused. I'm going to say Hollywood Squares, this little Hollywood Square world that we live in right now. But if you think about it, this is pretty cool because you guys got so many people here. You got 3 city council members. One thing I wanted to do is recognize Lillian Hunter, who's also a council member, who's on your screen. She's waving there very humbly in the corner. She's also a South End resident, so I wanted to recognize Councilmember Hunter. Maybe Darren, you can give Councilmember Hunter a minute to say something too. But I wanted to say, you have 3 city council members, a state senator, and the Speaker of the House of Washington State on a Zoom call because of Safe Streets. And that's just the power of Safe Streets right there. I mean, Darren and Eric and Julia and who am I forgetting? Alberto. I think I have everybody from Safe Streets on here. Am I missing anybody? Okay, I see Julia and folks. Okay. Well, that's good. You guys are fantastic. I'm on the board with Safe Streets as of this year, and just doing work with this whole crew. I mean, I've been doing work for years with Safe Streets, but you really see the power of this organization in mobilizing the community around clean, safe, and healthy neighborhoods. And that's really what it's all about. That's why all of us serve on city council, on neighborhood council. You guys should get involved with the neighborhood council too. The neighborhood council, South End Neighborhood Council, is very important. Community resource. I think Athena is on here as the chair of the neighborhood council.
Yep.
In fact, you can join the neighborhood council right now. They are actually looking for folks to join their board. So if you go to SENCO 253, I'll put it in the chat. SENCO 253, you can file an application to start joining. They're meeting on Zoom. You can get connected with all of the people that are here and get all your questions answered every single month and hear great presentations. So I would encourage you to get on there and get connected. I also wanted to just shout out to all of our wonderful city staff. You've heard from Linda and Keith. I know Latoya is on here, and I really miss seeing Latoya and everybody in the 311 office because I don't get to see him anymore because of COVID. And Lieutenant Scripps, who's just, man, this guy's everywhere. He is just everywhere, and I'm just so appreciative of everything Lieutenant Scripps has done. So I wanted to shout out to those folks. The other couple things I wanted to say are, I think everyone on the screen knows this, but 311 is your service. You need to use 311 anytime you have an issue, regardless of whether you're frustrated, you don't think it's going to work, you've reported it 5 times and you haven't seen something happen. You got to continue to use 311 because it's the way that everything is baked in. It's the process that is baked into how they collect the data and decide resources and decide where people get attention, is reports to 311. So continue to use 311. The other thing I wanted to say too is, a lot of times from what I've found as a city council member is that folks will send emails and they get frustrated because nothing happens. The thing that I think was important to hear tonight is both Keith and Linda Stewart with Neighborhood and Community Services giving their personal phone number. A lot of times having a conversation with somebody on the phone or face-to-face, you can understand and really come to a better conclusion and come to a better understanding of where things are at when you talk to people. So I just want to leave that there. I think it's very important to have conversations both here, but also on the phone. I think those are really important tools to use as we work through community issues. So the couple things I wanted to update folks on just in terms of my district, I think Catherine did Councilmember Ushka did a really great job with updating on some global things. I wanted to give some updates just on District 5. So if you don't know where District 5 is, maybe you don't know if you live in District 4 or District 5. District 5 is East McKinley to Orchard, 56 to 96. On the west side of the freeway, it's 80th because that's where Lakewood is. So just think about that as kind of a general area. It's basically half of the South End, what we would call Southeast Tacoma. As you can see my background here, this is the wonderful gem of Southeast Tacoma, Wapato Lake. So that's kind of the district. The things I wanted to update folks on. So let's talk about the Morgan Motel, because that's one of the hot button issues. The Morgan Motel, if you paid attention to the news, was bought by a small developer who is actually looking at turning the Morgan Motel into an 11-unit micro unit apartment building. Her name is Amber Moreno, and I've actually had a meeting with her and talked to her and was following up with her about her project as early as this week. She's wanting to open that up. She's actually doing some remodeling and actually has permits in right now for the Morgan Motel. So she's very serious about it. She has an architect that's working with her, and I've met with our staff to make sure that the permitting is going well for that. I think if you've gone by there, you can actually see some of the activity that she's undertaking to turn that building into a positive use, which is very, very important for our neighborhood. The other one too that's been exciting is the 5-plex over on East G Street and East 72nd near McKinley that's been boarded up for years and years and years. If you've driven by there anytime recently, you've seen that there's actually been some action on that. The current owner is actually rehabilitating that, wanting to get that into a place where folks can occupy that building and to get in there. So that one, I know folks had mentioned the derelict building issue. That one has just been front and center, right in the middle of where everybody can see for so many years. It's very positive to see that somebody's going to turn that into housing. So I wanted to update folks on that. The other couple things I wanted to update on is, I know I saw Linda on here, and I think she's the one who dropped the questions about Fernhill traffic safety into the chat. Traffic safety is super, super important to me and the rest of the city council. we actually passed a resolution earlier this year that myself and another at-large council member on the city council worked on pretty heavily, called the Vision Zero plan. And Vision Zero is a international movement for cities to transform their streets into places that are for people and they're human-centered, and that end traffic fatalities and serious injuries. And our goal is to end traffic fatalities and serious injuries by 2035. So the stuff that Linda, and I know Linda, you and the folks, Dell, I've seen Dell on this call too. You guys went out and got signatures and have really done some amazing work in trying to advocate for changes in your neighborhood. I know we kind of missed the mark on trying to meet this week, and I hope, Linda, that we're able to reschedule that date so we can get our public works folks. I know Jennifer Camerzall had a meeting with you this summer to talk about those issues, and those are really important. We need to come up with a plan, figure out how we're going to fund it, and get those projects added to our 6-year transportation improvement project list so we can get those improvements funded and get our streets safer. So very important things. The other thing I wanted to mention too on the transportation improvement plan list is that my colleagues and I voted to add a very important project for East and South 72nd Street, basically from D Street to A Street, which crosses over Pacific Avenue. We added a project that was not previously identified on our 6-year transportation improvement project list to improve both traffic and pedestrian safety, including putting in what we would call a pedestrian crossing signal at South D Street and South 72nd, right there where the Grand Pacific project is being put in near Fred Meyer, so people can get back and forth to the grocery store when they move into our neighborhood more safely. So that was a direct result of the work that neighborhood did on advocacy, as well as our partners with South End Neighborhood Council and the Southeast Tacoma Neighborhood Alliance, which I'm going to drop some more stuff in the chat when I'm done talking about that. The last couple of things I wanted to mention, South Sheridan is about to get additional sidewalks. If you've been by Bernie Elementary at 76th and Sheridan, you've seen that we've gotten some recent sidewalk upgrades as a result of the school being replaced. But in the coming months, you're going to see more sidewalks be put in on Sheridan. And that's a direct result of the work that we did about 2 years ago with our city budget to add $1 million to our transportation improvement project list to add sidewalks from South 84th Street up to 72nd. So you're not going to see sidewalks on both sides, but you will be able to walk on at least one side of the street with sidewalks from 84th up to 76th. And then from 76th, you would cross over the street to the other side and you'll have a safe walking path up to 72nd. We're also applying for a $9 million grant to rebuild Sheridan from 72nd to 61st Street. And that would be a complete streets project with full sidewalks on both sides, as well as replaced roadway. So really big project there. We're waiting for a grant application that I help support to our Public Works Department. We're waiting to hear back on that, and we'll hear back on that by the end of the year. So really important there. The very last thing I wanted to mention, and again, I'll put a lot of this stuff in the chat when I'm done talking, but the Southeast Tacoma Neighborhood Alliance, which is a group that started about 2 years ago as a result of group leaders with Safe Streets and with the Neighborhood Council. We've been meeting for a little over 2 years, and we're starting a process to update it's about 21 years old, a South End neighborhood action plan for the South End. We're going to be doing a community event on November 21st. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. November 21st, there's going to be a community event to talk about what that neighborhood plan is going to entail. But we're also going to have a panelist of speakers from our city staff, both with our strategic plan department, our city's planning department, Public Works, as well as Pierce Transit and Metro Parks. So if you've ever wondered, how does the city and Metro Parks and the other public agencies, how do they plan for the South End? What have they done for us? It's very important to come to that meeting. It's going to be on a Saturday mid-morning. It's going to be about 90 minutes mid-morning, so we can get you out, get you on your day for a Saturday, but you can join in, and we really hope that you join in on that because it's important to get your voice heard in terms of what we want to see in our neighborhood, over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It's a very important process to take part in. So I'm hopeful that you guys will all join that. I'm sure I'm missing other things here, but I've just got so much stuff going on. Oh, the one other thing that Safe Streets is working on is a alcohol impact area. Darren, I know we've been working with the folks at PACYAC and the neighborhood business owners near 84th to about 96th on Pacific Avenue. They're looking at doing a new alcohol impact area for that area. We're actually having a meeting on Monday with Lieutenant Scripps and Safe Streets group leaders from that area, as well as some business owners, to talk about an alcohol impact area. It essentially would ban from that corridor some of the cheaper, high octane, real, 15% alcohol beverages that seem to be some of our problem issues are driven by the availability of some of those cheap alcoholic drinks. And so we've had some meetings with Liquor and Cannabis Board, city staff has, as well as the police department and our CLOs, as well as the wonderful group leaders there that are along that corridor. And so we're going to have a meeting here in about a few days to formulate a public outreach plan. I hope you guys will all stay involved in that as well. So again, you give me the mic, Darren, I'm going to keep talking all night because I've just got so much stuff that I'm going on, but it's because of you guys. It's because of everybody in this neighborhood that comes to me and says, we got to fix this problem. And, we got to be involved, because when I see Darren and all the energy he's put into this neighborhood, he's been here for so long doing all this stuff. And every time I get on here with him, I can't help but just smile and be so happy that Darren and all these other people on here are doing all this work. So seriously, I'm so thankful, and I'm really grateful that I'm able to serve you guys on the council and to be involved in this. And I just really appreciate everything you guys are doing, and for all of my colleagues and everything. I know Lillian Hunter, she's unmuted. I'm sure she wants to say something, so I'm going to mute myself.
I'm sure Darren has a plan for that, Chris. Thank you for the shout out there. So Darren, I'll let you get back to your script, and you let me know when it's my turn.
Okay, thank you. Since Council Member Bill talk about Vision Zero, we have something to show you. Wanda, you have something to show us? What does this?
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Right there. This is how. Okay. Quick.
It's not going to work. Is it there?
Good.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Terrific.
Yeah. So thanks to Councilmember Beal. He asked us to get involved and look at and support the Vision Zero program. And so we got permission to create some signs, and they are good, 3x4 and with stakes. And so we purchased them for districts 4 and 5, neighborhood groups and community members that would like to put a sign in their yard. And it will have a sticker that says Compassionate Tacoma right in the corner there. So, because I ordered them, I ordered them before we got the stickers. So thank you to traffic engineering who gave me the stickers, and we really do appreciate being able to support this great initiative. So thanks.
Thank you, Wanda. It's free, right? It's free, but if anyone wanted, talk to your mobilizer.
No, I'm just going to tell you I've got them, and that's it. I apologize. Okay, so sorry about that. I got so excited about the designs. We've currently given out two different neighborhoods, one to Salishan and the other to Hillsdale, right?
Yes.
Darren? Okay.
Yes.
I still have a good 50 signs. So please email me or Julia or Darren, maybe Debbie Rochelle at safest.org. Then let me know what area, and we will get these signs to you.
Yep. Free delivery too.
I get to get out of my house. I've been here since March. Yes,
you,
I will
Wanda.
personally deliver to your door, 6 feet away.
Thank you, Wanda. So the next person, speaker on the list when Council Member Bill and Council Uska talk about the 311. So many people say, oh, Darren, why I called 311, nothing happened. So I asked Latoya to come, she will come and talk about 311. Latoya, please, your turn.
Okay, there I go. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity tonight to speak about 311 and to answer your questions, whatever you need answered. So I just want to start off by saying 311 recently celebrated 7 years, October 1st, 2020 this year. And I wanted to update everyone since COVID-19, March of 2020, all the walk-in services for 311 has been suspended, but 311 is still available by phone, web, and the mobile app. So the service, there's still access to 311 in all those other areas. You're just not able to come into the building. Since March of 2020, all of the 311 staff team, we all have been remotely working. So we're answering phones, web requests, and mobile app requests from home, but no services have been interrupted. That's one thing I wanted to mention here. And then I also want to let you know that we did hire a new team member in March of 2020, and we also replaced a team member. We had a team member move on to a different city department. And so I'll give you all of our team members' names. Mine, Latoya, of course, right? And then we have Julie and Kenny. You all are probably familiar with Julie and Kenny. And then we have Morgan, and then Allison and Isis. Those are the 5 other team members that are answering calls and taking in 311 requests. So I wanted to make sure that you all are familiar with the team. And I apologize, you have not met them personally, but one day you will. We'll all show up at a meeting when we can come back together. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not leaving out anything. I know when Darren called and he wanted me to come and speak, I wanted to make sure that I covered a couple points that there may have been some confusion around. For one, I think we do advertise and market that 311, you can dial 311 from your mobile phone or your landline, and you can dial into our office and you can reach a team member to take in your request. Sometimes that doesn't happen, not due to the City of Tacoma services, but because of the telephone network providers. They don't guarantee that if you dial 311, that it's going to connect. So I always like to give the main number to our office, which is 253-591-5000. That number should always work. Even if it's after hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., we are available to answer the phone and take in calls. The other times, if you call after 5 or before 8, you are able to leave a voicemail message and staff will return your call. Or if you just report what needs to be reported, we will enter in the 311 request. I wanted to make sure that was clear because the service is available 24/7, and you always can download the mobile app in the Google Play Store, or I think it's Apple. Am I getting those right? We use them every day and I still don't remember. You can download, look for Tacoma First 311 to download the mobile app. There's one more thing. I think someone already covered this, but when the call comes in and we take in this, we intake the request or the complaint, the concern, we enter that into our 311 system, and that request is automatically routed to the appropriate department to take care of that request or complaint. At that time, each request that is submitted in 311 does have a service level agreement promise attached to it. And what that means is that service level agreement could say 7 days, this will be completed. And most times, the reason why those days are allocated to that service request is because it's the process that has to take place for your service request to be completed. So sometimes there's a misconception that if I submit my complaint on Monday, it's going to be taken care of that same day. And I just wanted to make sure that I explain the process. So if that doesn't happen for you, sometimes it's handled earlier than the promised date. Sometimes a little bit later than the promised date. And that's due to the load of the work that the department may have, or maybe that service request may require some extra tools or something added in the process that didn't go perfectly to have it completed within that time. Most of the time, it is our best practice to communicate with the person who made the request or the complaint to let you know the status of that if it's not handled within the time frame promised. So with that said, I'm not sure what you need from me and what you don't. I think I covered the main points of 311, but I will offer questions if you would like to ask me anything, and I can answer that for you.
Great. We had 2 questions come in earlier. And one was, with so many people staying home and being in their neighborhoods more, has there been any change to 311 reporting trends?
Thank you for that. I did forget to mention that. I did have some data here. Since January 1st through 3rd quarter, we have had over 30,000 calls come in and 23,000 service requests entered into 311, whether that is by phone call, web, or mobile app. I looked at last year's stats, and we're just a little bit over, maybe just in a range of about 1,000 calls and 1,000 service requests. So it's still around the same activity as last year. Just a little bit more, but as the years have gone by, we've noticed every year our requests and our calls increase due to the knowledge of 311 in the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We had another one, and I'm not sure, this might not be exactly for you, but many neighborhoods throughout Tacoma put in 311 requests for streetlights on their streets for safety and crime reduction, but they're typically advised there's not enough budget to light every street. Are there any programs coming up in 2021 to install additional streetlights in Tacoma, or is this a low priority?
Linda. Thank you.
So if you don't mind, we can talk to the Public Works Department and provide some information on that question. So Julia, if you want to make sure that you just send that over to me, lstewart@cityoftacoma.org.
Thank you.
And I'll shoot some information over back to you from the Public Works Department. Does that work?
That sounds great. Thank you. And Darren, we have a kind of like a good amount of questions that I'm not sure who they should be directed to. Do you want me to go through those now, or you can just let me know?
Council Uska raised her hand. Council Uska.
Sorry, I just wanted to say real quick on lights, though, that they just went through a project of replacing lights everywhere and trying to look at the city with an equity map to make sure that everything's lit. So I know that Linda will be able to get your response that hopefully will solve your problem. But I definitely want to, I think that all of us probably want to hear about it if it doesn't get solved. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Julia, go ahead.
Okay, so we've got some, I suspect a few of these are for Linda as well. Can we review COVID restrictions and how that impacts managing encampments? I think encampments for folks experiencing homelessness right now. They said they'd appreciate more info about that. COVID.
So So do you want me to just go ahead and just briefly address that?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, so with the pandemic, the CDC guidelines have been very specific about the guidance is to not actually disperse individuals out into the community. And so what the city is trying to do right now is to actually manage and mitigate the impacts of existing encampments. What that means is that we are dispersing resources in the form of the homeless outreach team to all of the known encampments throughout the city and providing resources to the individuals at the encampments and encouraging them to engage in the resources and also getting them into shelter when shelter is available. We just had an individual today be able to get into some treatment from an encampment along 509. So when individuals are ready, we want to make sure that we have resources and shelter available. That's why it's so important that we bring on these shelter opportunities like the emergency micro shelter site up at 6th and Orchard. I just want to add that by the end of 2020, we will have brought on an additional 209 shelter beds. So again, we respond to the shelter or to the encampment locations. We attempt to provide individuals with resources for any of the issues that they're facing, and we also try to get them into open shelter opportunities. So with the pandemic, though, we have been very intentional about not clearing encampments because that is against the CDC guidelines.
Thank you. And Darren, like I said, there's a few questions kind of backed up. Do you want me to go through those now?
Yes, please,
Okay,
please.
Okay, great. So the next one is, do you find that the food is, or does someone here find that the food is free and sharing tables have been a positive thing for people experiencing homelessness as the number of tables has been increasing?
David, are you still there? David. Look like David Thompson, he's the one in chair of run the program. Any other people can jump in? To me, I have seen it, many people in the Fernhill area in the south end here in the sector 3 and 4, or district 3 and 4 and 5. More people are put the table up there and willing to do and join it on Facebook. It's really helpful. That's what my observation out there and what I learned from Facebook, Julia.
All right, well, the next question is, Peace Lutheran Church has a committee that buys homes and keeps them as affordable rentals on the hilltop. Could other groups be encouraged to do this?
So I'll go ahead and take that. So the city's affordable housing action strategy is looking at all avenues to increase the affordable housing stock in the city of Tacoma. And so if churches or other organizations are interested in contributing to the affordable housing stock in Tacoma, folks can call me and I will refer them to the Community and Economic Development Department to follow up with that opportunity.
Thank you, Linda. Kimber have a question. Kimber? Go ahead.
Actually, I was just going to comment on the food is free tables.
Yes.
I have one out in front of my house, and it's a great program that I've been running for out in front of my house for like the last couple of months, in working with David. And recently, my table was actually stolen, and the food was thrown on the ground. And I made a Facebook post and then posted on Nextdoor. Griffin, please. And like the neighborhood rallied. Somebody brought me a temporary table. Everybody brought more food. It was really, really amazing. And then David brought a brand new food is free table, and it's there's a lot of people that come by on a daily basis to get food. Sometimes it's obvious that they're living out of their cars. So that's just something that I've noticed, but I think it's a really fantastic program.
Thank you, Kimber. Thank you so much for your hospitality and participating. Okay, so Julie, any more chat question?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so is there any system in place to prioritize the type of 311 calls? Example, oil spilled, other environmental hazards. Being that we live in Washington and it's rainy, certain types of 311 calls might not be able to wait.
Can you ask me that question one more time,
Sure.
please?
So I guess I think the heart of it is there a system in place that prioritizes the type of calls to 311?
No, unless it's based on the department's process. So every request that comes in through 311, it's routed to the department that handles that request. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm answering this correctly and understandable. So 311, we don't make that determination. The department determines how that request is handled. And most of the departments are handling requests first come, first basis, right? And so say that, I see Council Member Ishka saying something.
Sorry, on code enforcement, they actually switched it up and they do a triage to make sure that they're getting the most critical cases first. That's a fairly significant change in the last couple of years. So a couple of departments do that, just so you know. And LaToya wouldn't necessarily know that for any reason. So sorry for the interruption.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much, because I know most departments, that's how that is handled, unless there was an emergency or there was some special circumstances with a certain type of request, and that's how they would handle taking care of the problem or the concern. But that is based on the department's process and procedures. Not 311, sorry.
Linda,
And I didn't want to interrupt LaToya's flow there or Councilmember Ushka, but I also want to let you know that behind the scenes, there's a whole lot of collaboration between departments. So me and Environmental Services, me and Planning and Development, me and Public Works. There's a whole lot of conversation at my level, at the director level, and at the staff level to address the issues as they come in. So there's just a whole lot of collaboration. And again, hats off to LaToya and her crew for getting the information put out to the departments, and then it's up to us to really kind of manage it and make sure that we do everything we can to have the 311 staff be reflected in a manner that really looks like we are being responsive. People think in the city that her staff, that LaToya's staff, are responsible for managing these thousands of calls. But if you think about it, LaToya, you mentioned, I don't know, tens of thousands of concerns coming into 311. In our department, on the code compliance side alone, there were several thousand that we have been dealing with from January to September. So, the volume is huge. So we all work very well together to triage and then to also address the most significant issues right away. And Councilmember Ushka called it in code compliance. We developed through a pilot program last year to really go after those most egregious cases.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Linda, thank you for inspiring, motivating, encouraging message. Thank you, LaToya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
we've got-
Julie, any one more?
Yeah, and just so you know, we're doing really good on time, Darren. But yeah, we've got two about bus rapid transit on Pacific. What's the status? Is that a go or a no-go?
Council Member Chris Bill and Council Member Uska.
Well, it's definitely a go. The Pierce Transit is still trying to get secure federal and state grants for it, but they're still doing design for the project. So although COVID has impacted Pierce Transit services because of sales taxes and stuff like that, the project is still being designed and moving forward as far as I know.
And I just want to add to that, that I know that I saw a specific question about 56th and Pacific, and I know that Councilmember Beal and myself have been in close contact with Pierce Transit on that. And as I've talked to the city, the partnership and the funding should be available to do something better there. I don't want to make any promises because it's not our project, it's Pierce Transit's, but I want you to know that we are listening and advocating for something better there, and making sure that all the businesses remain sustainable.
Thank you. So Julia, the next speaker, we have Lieutenant Skip will be talking about the community liaison officer. For those who are new, sometimes we call a abbreviation CLO. It means like community liaison officer. Lieutenant, go ahead.
Hello, Darren. Hello, everybody. Thank you for organizing this, Darren, and obviously the rest of Safe Streets. Safe Streets is a wonderful partner for us for a lot of different reasons. And a big one is just folks like Darren, your ability to organize groups of people, especially with all of the smaller groups that we have spread out throughout the different sectors of Tacoma. I know that there's study after study that shows that close-knit neighborhoods are going to have less crime, and so I think Safe Streets is a big part of that. So thank you for that. As Darren had mentioned, we've been throwing around the term CLO a lot. That stands for Community Liaison Officer. I am the Community Policing Commander for the 4th sector of Tacoma, which covers the east side of the city, basically from Sheridan to Portland, and then from I-5, kind of where it curves over the Emerald Queen Casino, and then down to 72nd. We split, for policing, we split our city into 4 sectors. They don't exactly match the council member district border lines. So for instance, my 4 sector has some areas in council member district or council district 4 and some in 5. So because we have 4 sectors, but I think we have 5 council member districts. So, but like I said, our CLOs will go to those Safe Street meetings. Before COVID hit, I think we were up to between 20 to 30, at least for the east side alone. And then myself, I will go to the neighborhood council meetings and some of the other community groups that meet in the area. Those are just a great opportunity for our officers to engage with the public. It's also an opportunity for them to address more neighborhood specific concerns. They can provide statistical information, crime data for those smaller neighborhoods. I kind of give an overall picture usually when I go to meetings such as the neighborhood council meetings. Some of the Safe Street meetings have been switching to virtual, which is great. It's allowing the CLOs to engage a little bit more because they've been missing that. I know for neighborhood councils, Senco has been doing virtual for a while. I think I heard earlier in the chat from Councilmember Ushka that maybe ENAC might do the same thing. If so, that'd be great. I'd love to start attending those as well. And so that's a big part of their job. We have the way our CLO program is organized. as I said, we have 4 sectors. Each sector has between 3 to 4 CLOs, and those CLOs, I kind of equate them almost to project managers, I guess you could say. What they are is they coordinate resources to help resolve long-term problems. So if you think about our police department, we obviously have a patrol division, and they're responsible for 911 calls, emergency response, anything that you need police, and you have a crime happening or a safety concern, and you need police there now. That's our patrol division. We have an investigative division. That's that follow up, the detectives, and then our community policing division. It's for a lot of those things that like neighborhood concerns. Maybe it's a derelict property, but there's also crime concerns. A lot of times, some of these projects that pop up in society, they require more of a multidisciplinary approach because there's crime aspects, but yet we still want to include some of our other departments, our neighborhood community services, our code enforcement, mental health. Our CLOs have mental health resources that they can dial up to help solve some of those concerns. And so they're a little bit like project managers, I guess that you could say in that sense. They also will coordinate crime prevention strategies, crime prevention through environmental design. The acronym is CEPTED. They will definitely provide information on CEPTED, and they can also coordinate with other folks in the city who have training in that area to help see what property improvements folks can make to help make their help their properties go towards preventing more crime. So that's kind of the CLO program in a nutshell. As I mentioned earlier, we were going to tons of in-person meetings before COVID hit. COVID hit, and the transition to virtual has been a little bumpy. We are obviously very much an in-person organization, and we're still out there. Our patrol officers are still out there. Our CLOs are still out there. We did go through a phase where we tried to initially lessen the exposure, where we had one CLO squad cover for another out in the field, while the one that wasn't in the field was doing all virtual work. We tried that for a little bit. It just didn't work out. So everybody's back out in the field, and so yeah, we've been trying to make as many COVID adjustments as we can, but we do realize that our work is it's being out there, and it's being in the field. So our CLOs have relationships with a lot of with all the different departments, both inside the city and outside the city, and as I mentioned, that helps them coordinate responses to neighborhood concerns. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it in a nutshell. Oh, I'd also want to mention thank you to Latoya for covering the 311 program. Our CLOs use that to kind of give them a little bit of a task list, I guess you could say, when they start their work weeks. I love the 311 program. It works great for our function. Historically, we kind of ran more on a phone call kind of email basis, and some folks still use that, but as much as I can, I try to encourage people to use 311. And the reason why is because we could have staff that's on vacation, or maybe they're out sick, and if the concern is logged in 311, then their partners can see it, and their partners can pick it up and run with it. And that way they can back each other up. And so as much as I can, I try to encourage folks to use that 311 system. But please do not use it for things like crimes in progress, immediate safety concerns. Please call 911 for those, because the 311 system, let's say 311 is logged on a Friday evening, it won't the CLO won't see it until they start their work week, which could be the beginning of next week, of the following week. So so like I said, if it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, please call 911, or there's also a non-emergency line as well that can for something that and I can put the non-emergency line in the chat box, but something that maybe it's not a huge safety concern, but it's still something that could be potentially criminal that needs to be addressed. So I'll throw the non-emergency line in the chat box here in a few minutes. So so that's about all I have overall, and I can try to field questions. I see the chat bar has been moving while I've been talking. So
Lieutenant, we have Senator Conway have his hands up. Senator.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? I guess I'm off mute.
Yes.
Well, I think there are a lot of questions for our CLOs, and I want to say welcome to the virtual community building meeting. And I want to thank each and every one of you for all the work, from our city council people to our neighborhood group leaders, for their work in keeping our community alive. The COVID situation has created many new challenges, and here we are. I would have been to at least 10 meetings that Darren brought me into the community, but because of the COVID situation, this is how we meet. But this is how we build community. I think I look out here and I see all these virtual community builders, and I look at South Tacoma, which I represent obviously in several other areas as well. But I look at our area and I look up north, and I won't mention the city, but I see the kind of stability here in Tacoma that is a product of all of our work. And I mean that. I mean that without neighborhood groups, without the partnership with the police, without the 311 number, where would we be? And we're here because of the good wisdom of all of you. And I want to say, especially about Safe Streets, and Darren, thank you again for putting this meeting together. But I want to say that, we have a challenge, all of us here, to ensure that we maintain the stability of Safe Streets. And it's something that, I certainly will be. I wanted to ask Lori Jenkins a question about including community policing and funding of community policings and funding for organizations like Safe Streets in any police reform bill that we put forward. Because I think our community police liaisons have created a whole different environment in our community than exists in other communities. And I think we have lessons here really to share with other communities about building that important bridge between our police and our community. And I thank the lieutenant here for all his work and all the sector captains. And frankly, one of the big issues down in Olympia will be the police accountability bill. But for me, community policing and safe street organizations are a critical part of any solution. There are other big issues out there, I realize, and we'll be addressing those in Olympia as well. But our safe streets organizations and our community police partnership has been critical to the stability of this community. And I can't help but thank the city council people here. And I ask you, I had the city was the city was virtually with me today about all their asks on the legislative side. And I said to them, the one legislative ask that I have is that you maintain your funding for safe streets, because it's important for South Tacoma and for Parkland. Now I've got Parkland, and the Safe Street community or group has helped the sheriff department here with their issues that they had in Parkland. So we have something here that the city should be very proud of. And we need to fund it adequately. And Chris and Catherine, I see both, and I don't see Lillian now, but I see all of you, and I say to you, and I plead with you, I had good communication with Safe Streets, and I've heard that one of the proposed budgets is to cut this program some. Why would we cut a program that's so successful? And Chris, this Safe Streets program and the neighborhood groups have been probably as effective as our neighborhood councils. And I hope that you recognize that that is a funding that must be maintained. And we will continue to work with this concept of a partnership between our community and our police. And I'm hoping that as we unravel the big police accountability issues that are in Olympia, we remember the very positive relationship that has existed in our community around this issue. And I say that our budget down in Olympia will be a challenge, as it will be for the city. But let's not undermine Darren here, who has been one of the best community organizers that we have had in South Tacoma for many years. And I can't help but thank you, Darren, for all your work. And I know this virtual world has probably been a binder on all the work you've been doing, but I thank you for that. And I look forward for what we're going to be doing in the session this coming year. It'll be a virtual session. I think Lori laid out the challenges here, but the way we can manage this, much as you're managing it here in Tacoma, is by having meetings like this and talking with each other. So I thank you for this opportunity, Darren, to be here. But I want to really thank all those who are present here today for their work in building a stronger community. So thank you. I can't hear you, Darren.
Senator, all the way out there, even though with the Council Ushka, Council Bill, Council Hunter, all the way out there in the community, for those of you people who are new to the city of Tacoma, they are your elected official, and they are also out there side by side, holding the sign, clean up. I have all kinds of photos, 1,000 of their photos, and the time that we have together. Thank you, Senator, for coming, joining. I know you have like 13 meetings tonight. So thank you so much for coming and listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you're doing. I really mean that.
Thank you.
I will leave because I actually do have another meeting to be at, kind of like Lori, but thank you for all your work, and thank you, Lieutenant, for your work as well. I really mean that. I have been really, I really believe strongly that what we are doing in Tacoma with community policing and the partnership with Safe Streets is an answer to many of the challenges that many communities are facing today. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Julia, do you have any question for the lieutenant?
Yes, we had quite a few questions about drag racing, and notes that it's a big problem on East 72nd. Can you speak a little bit to those, Lieutenant Scripps, and a little bit about maybe how to report them? Is it recommended to report them as in-process traffic issues?
Sure, I can speak a little bit. So first of all, for reporting them, 911, it's an in-progress thing. Obviously, if they're racing and an officer gets dispatched there, by the time they get there, they'll be somewhere else. I mean, we understand that, right? But at the same time, when you do call in, if you report which direction they're going, there may be an officer that is far down the street in the direction that they're headed. And so they may be able to cut them off or get in behind them right as they're passing them or something to that effect to be able to make a stop. So just because they're racing doesn't mean you shouldn't call. Please call in progress. I will also say that it is not just a Tacoma concern right now. It is not just a Pierce County concern. It is a entire region concern. there are some discussions that are taking place with State Patrol, some King County agencies. I believe we have maybe one or two of our graveyard commanders also, because many of these things are happening at graveyard. When I say graveyard, I mean night shift. That's what I'm referring to. So they're happening during night hours. And so, so we're in on those discussions as well. I do not know what the overall strategy is for them right now, but I guess I should say area law enforcement, to include the whole Puget Sound region, is aware of it. And please call 911 if it happens.
Thank you so much. We've got another one that says, it seems like there's a lot of gunfire in the middle of the night. Are the gangs at war again?
I do not have any knowledge of any specific gang disputes going on right now. However, same or a similar type of deal, please call 911 if you hear gunshots. And the more callers we get, the better. Sometimes folks will think, well, someone else will call, or I don't need to call. Please call, because where you hear them from may help officers locate evidence later on. It's the more callers you get, the better chance officers are going to have to find any evidence that's left behind. Someone may say, "Oh, it sounded like 2 blocks this way, 2 blocks," and once everything kind of gets triangulated, then officers can find the right spot, and that does help. We do have a few of our detectives that are dedicated to some of these cases that have, I guess, for lack of a better term, solvability challenges, because there's not really clear eyewitnesses or something to that effect. That doesn't mean we just let it go. We still have some dedicated detectives that are working on those, and they're pretty sharp. So they have been able to develop suspect information on a few of them. And so just please call, give us that information. The more information we get, the better. And hopefully we can use that to provide some solvability to some of those.
And just kind of a follow-up question that came through the chat. Should people call 911 even if the gunshots are in the distance?
Yes. Yeah, I give a direction and an approximation of distance, but yes.
Great. And then we had a question that came in very early in the meeting and came back again. Concerns in Fern Hill about a double fatality at 88th and Park Avenue and a 5-car accident at that same roundabout. I don't know if you can speak to that at all.
That would be something I'd have to get back with the requester about. If they are able to, I can throw my email in the chat and they can send me an email. I can get back to them. I'd probably rope in the CLO for that area and see what is already going on there, what kind of strategies are already being employed, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you. And Darren, there's quite a few more questions, so just tell me when to stop.
Okay. I think, okay. So is that like, okay, go ahead with the few more.
Okay. Okay. Is there a way that people can be notified of violent protests in the area so they can know to avoid them?
Well, I can say that for our demonstrations that we've had in Tacoma, we haven't really had a lot of, for the most part, everyone that I've seen has been peaceful. I don't know where they're posted. A lot of times they're on social media sites and things like that. But we don't currently have a system in place to I guess let folks know where we think, because sometimes there's chatter about one and then it doesn't happen. So it just kind of depends, but yeah, I can say that for the most part, the ones that we've had in Tacoma, it's not like the ones you've seen other places.
Well, great. And Bob said to follow TPD on Twitter, and they can post kind of up-to-date things too.
Yes.
Thank you, Bob.
And then we had a question, or what's the best way to reach CLOs? Email, phone, other?
311 is still, I go back to that. That's going to be the best way to get your concern addressed. For instance, one of our CLOs is going to go out on paternity leave here at some point, so they'll be gone for a period of time. And so, when things like that happen, they need their partners will cover their workload. So use 311, and that way everybody sees it and it can be addressed.
Thank you. So thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you so much, Julia. We also would like to introduce our city council member, Lillian Hunter, all the way out there, walk around. Oh, it doesn't matter when you do a walkabout in person, she always grab, or I always grab her and walk around the neighborhood. Now, Councilor Lillian Hunter, please.
Thank you, Darren. And I echo everyone else's appreciation of the turnout tonight and you organizing this. And I am one of the 3 at-large council members on our council, which means that I oversee kind of the entire city. And so I do strong backup for our district representatives. But with the district 4th and 5th district, I've lived here almost all of my life, went to Baker Junior High School, then Mount Tahoma High School, taught at Lincoln High School. And one of the reasons I wanted to be on the council was to make sure that this end of town was the needs of our community are met at the same level as other parts of town. And it really is an honor to serve with the strong leadership of Chris Beal and Catherine Ushka, who really, we work together and we collaborate to make sure that what we hear in meetings like this and issues in the 4th and 5th district are addressed with the same priority as other areas of the town. And it really speaks to the strength of community of what Safe Streets does in the 4th and 5th district. And don't tell the neighborhood councils this, because they certainly are an important part of our process as well. But I have to say that I favor Safe Streets because I really get a sense of what's going on when I read what's happening with Darren and the emails that I'm included on, of just keeping us informed about what's going on. And I can't tell you how important that is, the email communication. And we want to make sure that good programs like this continue. And in that takes me into, well, before I do anything else, I want to say, Angela, you've got 2 of the cutest dogs that keep showing up here. Oh man, that big head, want to give a big kiss there. And on Kristen Pierce, who was walking her 2 dogs, I was just absolutely mesmerized watching those 2 little backsides there to compete with that. So I'm glad they're off the screen now while I'm talking, because that's a tough act to compete with there. But back to Safe Streets and the importance of the programs. One of the things that is a critical responsibility of the City Council is to pass a balanced budget for the biennium. And we are in the process of doing that right now. Here's our budget book, all 550 pages of it. Yeah, we've read every single page there. But I want to say that, we're looking in there to see preservation of support for Safe Streets. I can't give you where we're at on that right now. But one of our challenges is that with COVID, we are facing a $40 million deficit. And boy, we are just looking at getting lean and mean. But we want to make sure that we don't compromise good programs that serve our neighborhoods well in the meantime. So we are working diligently on that, and we will come to a model a budget that we will move forward and authorize hopefully before the end of November. We will then, of course, start looking at what happens with our economic forecast and our revenue streams as hopefully the COVID issues start to wane and we get back to some sort of normalcy, whatever that will be. So please know that the budget and what happens in that budget is really high, is high on our radar screen right now, including how do we keep neighborhood and community services going. You've heard tonight about, I mean, just the responsiveness of that crew, and just so appreciative to have them here. And then also with public works, someone asked, there was a question earlier about streetlights. And it really is interesting to learn as we go through budget. We have a presentation by each department that tells us what they're doing. And with that trimmed down budget, Public Works did have $200,000 dedicated to streetlights, which is something, not great. But we also in the last few weeks learned that the Washington State Supreme Court ruled the I-976 was unconstitutional. That's the controversial license tabs, the $30 tabs. Does it stay? Does it go? I don't want to get into a debate in this forum about the merits of that one way or the other, but what we learned is that the monies that the city collected from car tabs has been put in an account, just untouched account, because we didn't know if we were going to have to send that back to people who had bought license tabs. We've now gotten permission or learned from the Supreme Court that we do have those monies, and that's available for transportation related projects. So we anticipate we might have $5.8 million at that time, of which we are going to dedicate $2 million to streetlights. So there will be more information coming about traffic signals and streetlights. So that's just a little glimmer there based on what people were asking about there. We are really focused on maintaining essential services throughout the city. And again, nothing like a good pandemic to have you look carefully, really carefully at how you're spending money and where those monies go. So I also have jumped on board with some of the things that I've heard here tonight. I'm working carefully with Councilmember Beal with regard to some changes in codes and code violations, whatnot, when it comes to some construction projects. And the Grand Pacific project on 72nd and Pacific is going to be one for the books. We have had an extremely active neighborhood who's been keeping us informed about what's happening with that project, good and bad. And it's really put us, we're working collaboratively to take a look at what do we do with regard to, citations, violations, helping our developers be good neighbors. And hopefully we have learned quite a bit from the Grand Pacific, and I hope it, and in that, some changes that we have to make as city with regard to code and enforcement and that type of thing. And the reason I bring that up is because it shows us what strength of community is when we hear from our community members, when we work with Safe Streets, and when we work with the neighborhood councils. Our best work is done in response to issues that you bring to us, and that really is what our job is as members of the city council. So I just want to reinforce the importance of the value of that, how much we appreciate that, and how much we, good and bad, do need to hear from our community so that we work together, so that we collaborate, and we make Tacoma the best Tacoma that it can be for everyone who's living here now and for everyone who's going to be living here in the future. So that's my 2 minutes worth there, Darren. That takes us to the 8 o'clock hour. And thank you so much for hosting this. And thank you so much that inviting me to the table here.
Thank you. I think due to the time, but I would like to please be patient with me just 2 minutes. We have a special program they call Glow the Sound. The sound. Julie, come on.
Okay, so, oh, I guess I can't share my screen, but that's okay. So we know this winter is going to be a really hard one for a lot of folks. It's going to be a lot different. And we were thinking about a way to engage the community in something joyful and hopeful. So we created Glow Around the Sound. It's free. And on December 21st, that's the shortest and darkest day of the year. We're going to ask everyone in the community, as many people who want to participate, businesses, churches, organizations, households, whatever, to put out paper bags of flameless candles all around their house or their neighborhood, which is like a luminary, so that we can kind of light up the night in Tacoma and Pierce County. So if you go to safest.org/glow, you can request your free luminary kits. I'll put the link in the chat right now, and the more people who can request them before November's over, the better. That way we can kind of keep tabs on how many we need to order, but we'll be distributing them in early December. So again, it's free. We'd love as many people as possible to sign up and take part in Glow Around the Sound on December 21st.
It's a free supply and provides. What you need to do, just put it out there and let it glow.
Check out our Facebook for more information.
Yeah, put on Facebook when it's come out. I will put on Facebook. Due to the time, I just want to say thank you so much to our elected official, state Speaker of the House, Roy Jenkins, and also the City Council, Chris Bill, City Council Uska, and State Senator Conway, and City Council Lillian Hunter, and all the speaker. Hey, Jesse, you just show up your face, man. And all of you, please, this is not the end. You still have Eric, you still have me, you still have Alberto, and a Safe Street. Please email us. We are your bridge. We want to bridge both of you together and sit down and talk. Okay, so have the good and blessing evening. Okay, thank you all, and see you in another chapter. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Darren.
Bye.
Thanks, Darren. Great job.